the planning commission meeting to order. This is a continuation of our previous planning meeting. This meeting is being held in person at the council chambers and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to the chambers or logging in via Zoom. There will be an opportunity for the public to speak during the meeting. If you would like to address the commission, you may come to the council chambers or participate in Zoom. If you're interested in speaking, you should have checked in on the sign-up sheet. If not, and you wish to speak, please raise your hand when it's time for public comments. For online participation, use your virtual hands to raise if you would like to speak. We ask that all participants intending to speak label their Zoom username to show their first and last names for the record. So calling to order, let's do a roll call.
Earl here.
Freilinger here.
More here.
So we are doing a public hearing on the legislative amendment 2025-01, and we are calling that to order. The purpose of the hearing is to take public comments, deliberate, and consider the recommendation of the legislative changes. The applicable criteria and findings are listed in the staff report. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the criteria described in the staff report. Failure to raise an issue and issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker or the parties are an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the board based on that issue. Does any commission member wish to announce actual or potential conflicts of interest? The staff report was included in the packet that we got for the last meeting. Does anyone wish to comment on the proposed changes for public testimony? Patty.
Patty Perrin, 215 North Maple Street. So I have a few concerns, one of which is clarification on what it means for staff. And the reasoning behind that is for the codes, easements, agreements, that where it states that there's laws, provisions, regulations, resolutions, easements, covenants, or agreements between parties. Staff could review that to see if that is correct. Well, part of the issue that I have with easements is that if someone is not sure where their easement is and they just go to whoever, if it's staff here, they're not going to have a clue unless they have had something to do with surveying or whatever the case may be. So for someone to just willy-nilly give their opinion on that, that's concerning. And the other big issue that I had was for the building codes, as far as staff giving their opinion on the width of a roadway or the dividing line between properties or properties adjacent to the new development, whatever. The majority of people don't have the background for that kind of thing. And so, like I say, getting what the actual verbiage when it comes to staff, what that actually means would be, I think, very, very important. Anyway, that's all.
And seeing up on the monitor, it reminds me, so we are going to enforce a 3-minute time rule. So the clock is up there. So if anybody's wanting to know how much time they have left, that's where the timer is.
Okay, well, all right. I'm gonna give my time.
Thank you. All right, Robert Davis. And please state your name and address.
Robert Davis, 212 North Maple Street. I'm going to pick up where Patty left off. I not only agree with what she said, but I would like to bring to the attention of a few other items. Accessory dwelling units. This is all going to be decided by staff, whoever staff is. I have no idea whoever staff is. Is staff the Walt Wendelowski or is staff Angie or some other employee of the city? So it concerns me greatly, like it concerns Patty, because even the planning commission probably wouldn't know a lot of these answers without doing a lot of research. To impose greater restriction required by other provisions of laws, regulations, resolutions, easements, conveyance, or agreements between parties. I mean, that's a lot of legalese. So I got 2 minutes. Wow. So I guess what I'm trying to impress upon this group, Mr. Moore, Mr. Freilinger, Mr. Linden, you guys have the power to make the decision to either approve or approve with changes. Man, I see a lot of changes. I'm sorry. Do we need a 52-foot building in our city? 5 stories? No, I don't think so. It would be really obtuse. And I still have a minute, 20 seconds left. So you can keep looking. But anyway, and on 519, I gave everybody here an example A of my setback site development review procedures that I think should basically put the purview within the planning commission's wheelhouse. And I'm not saying that's a great thing, and maybe in time, maybe you guys can move it to another entity for the small stuff. But, to me, there's a lot of minutia here that has to be digested in order to understand permits, easements, lot lines, building construction. There's a lot of it there. And I've been attending this meeting now for about 4 years, and I still haven't learned it all, and I probably never will. So I just want you to understand that 5 foot between buildings is absurd. Oh my God, do we really have to put 10 feet between businesses, between houses? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is that Rocky there? Yes, Rocky, you were up. Thank you.
I second the motion of the first and second speaker, Rocky Lossley, second and Hemlock. If I may, I would like to start out by, first of all, how many minutes do I have?
3.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
2 minutes and 45.
Could you give me a quick understanding, definition of DLDC? Maybe you better write that down and give it to me later. Otherwise, you'll use up my time. One of my issues has to do with OARs, Oregon Administrative Rules. I know that there is strength in them, but technically they're not a law, but we're asked to abide by them. And I think that this body needs to take that into consideration because this is our city and this is our home, each one of you and everybody else that lives here. Secondly, the process that we are walking through, it's identified that the CAC, the Citizens Advisory Committee, would participate in this. Well, to a large degree, they weren't even present, and you all know that. Which just simply means, I mean, that's not necessarily all bad, but what it means is we need to get more involvement. And we could do that if we marketed the need to accomplish this process so that there's a lot of folks in this community that do not know and do not understand what this document is and what its impact is on them personally and the city at large. That needs to be corrected, and it could be because the city could do more to make sure that people understand what it is and the dates available for them to participate. Another item has to do with the code that we're looking at and the effect that it has on fire protection and safety. And there are items in the code that are very relevant to that. I believe that the fire chief was not notified to be able to participate. Either the fire chief himself or another fire official, which obviously they should have been contacted and they should have felt the responsibility to also participate in this process, which they did not. And as one person speaking, and I think I will be speaking for a number of people, my recommendation would just simply be either action item number B, recommend that the city council take no action on LA 2025-01, or at the very least, item A2 as amended by the planning commission stating revisions, and that is yet to be done. Thank you. Thank you.
Sherry Wilson, you have anything?
Not at this time.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be about this anyway.
Is anyone else interested in speaking? Okay. All right, so. Right.
Online, there are no hands raised.
Oh, yes, thank you. I always forget that online. All right, so we didn't go through the opposed, a favor, opposed, neutral. We just kind of opened it up. I think we've covered it all. All right. Are there any public agencies who wish to comment? I don't think anybody's here from any other agencies. Have we received any other correspondence?
I have not.
All right. So we have Walt back with us. So thank you for coming out of retirement to help us out. We appreciate you. So do you have any comments to some of the, comments that you can address some of the questions from the public?
Sure, I'll, excuse me. First of all, thank you for welcoming me back. Boy, it's been a long time since I've been in front of the public for anything here, so bear with me. Anyway, let's start from the last comments and work our way back. For the record, the DLCD is the Department of Land Conservation and Development. That's the overarching agency that basically coordinates land use planning in the state. And I did a little lookup in the comprehensive plan, and based on the city's comprehensive plan, the Planning Commission is the Citizens Advisory Committee. With regard to some other comments here, I think a core one, who is staff, that can be a little perplexing. There is staff that takes in some of the land use applications, processes like over-the-counter permits, sends materials to the county for, say, building permits and stuff like that. But when it comes to staff in terms of planning, that is listed as the planning official. Now, I read through this. I got a final copy of the material, and I read through it. Some of the requirements for the planning official are right out of state law. In other words, they have to do certain things. Other things are a little bit optional, but most of what I see here seem to follow state law very clearly, and that was some of the things that they were trying to sort of clean up a bit. The one thing, though, is that I'm not an expert on everything. And I will say, though, I do have, and in the past, and I expect in the future, if I have any issues or questions, I will certainly contact those who have the knowledge. No, I am not a surveyor, so I'm not going to go through easements delineation, but let's use that as an example. If someone comes in for a partitioning, they have to put together a survey, and that survey will indicate where easements are, and the surveyor is going to put their stamp on the proposal to let us know that this is accurate information. We accept that as a professional doing the work. I'm not going to supervise the surveyor, nor would I second guess. But the whole point is this, is that you have people out there, and you also have requirements in these proposals that very technical information has to be supplied by technical people. Engineering information has to be supplied by engineer. And for example, if you're building a single family home, there's a site plan that goes with that, and that includes all the measurements that staff would be looking at. So I understand possibly some of the issues here, but please be aware that staff does have expertise to do a lot of these things. And also, I'll just put it, maybe I shouldn't say this as a planner, some common sense to know when we need to ask someone for some help here. So I can really appreciate that. So I hope that answers a little bit of it. But again, staff is basically the planning official and administrative staff. And those are the folks that basically would be running the program on a day-to-day basis.
So one of the questions, Walt, that came up, and it seems maybe applicable, is there it wasn't in this document, but is there somewhere where staff is defined in the city documentation to include the planning official that we've hired, even if it's a contractor?
I think there is a provision in the updates, and I'm just trying to recall here, that the planning official is defined. And the planning official would be someone either, on staff that is employed by the city, or a contract individual. But it's also very clear on various places within the code and also the amendments that the planning official has certain duties. So that's pretty much clearly defined. But if I recall, I think there was a definition.
Okay, I just found, so I was looking under the term staff, but under planning official, for your guys's,
Yeah.
it means the city administrator, Yamhill City Administrator, or an official designated by the Yamhill City Administrator with authority to administer the provisions of this title. And since, well, essentially what we've decided is, as a city, our city administrator doesn't have that background. So we're contracting out with the planning official to fill that role. So,
But that's not staff. That's a different definition.
they're saying planning official is staff, and it's saying that the planning official is defined as the designee from the city administrator. So the city administrator has designated the the planning contractor as that person. So.
Question now. It's not the time.
We've closed.
Okay, sorry.
I think, yeah.
That's all right. It just.
Is it related to this document?
It's related to lines, those property lines, in the sense that there's lots of alleyways through the town. 40 years ago, there were definitely alleys between properties. And some of those still exist. Some of them have been taken. Sherry Wilson, sorry, 710 East Main. Some of them have been encroached upon by the, so I'm just wondering where that would fall into place.
Walt, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, okay. If there's a dispute on a property line, staff stays out of it. That's where, generally speaking, we would suggest, but not require, to property owners pool their resources to hire a surveyor to take care of that. No city I've ever worked for has a surveyor that goes out there and actually does that sort of work. you would need to hire a professional surveyor. So I would definitely not be in the position of going someplace and saying, here's where the line is at. That's where a surveyor comes in.
So it sounds like if there's a dispute, it should be
Right.
addressed by parties.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So, and I guess just to note, Rocky's concerns about communication to the city and the public, I think that's noted. And we've had a strategy for communicating stuff out. We'll continue to do the website postings around town, that sort of thing. The city hall, people could come and get a copy, I'm assuming, maybe, or I don't know. Is that an
Yeah,
option?
all of these meetings have been noticed for the public, so it's only required to be on the website and at City Hall, but I post it to the downtown board, post office, and sometimes Facebook as well.
All right, and there's been some discussion about fire officials and stuff too, and I have the benefit of having multiple building inspectors in my family, so I've talked to them, and they by following Oregon State codes, building codes, you are enforcing what the expectations that the fire marshal would follow. But the fire marshal's involved in those processes.
Mhm.
When a building permit gets submitted, most counties have it run through somebody to do a review from a fire perspective.
Is that just a blank statement or?
It's just a blank statement from the two individuals that I spoke to who worked in other cities, that their experience with, as a building official in those cities. That, anyway.
My understanding, and Angie, if you'll help me with this, the Citizens Advisory Committee in this case was the group that came to the various open meetings. Was that the Citizens Advisory Committee that they referred to, that the consultants referred to?
The consultants had a citizen advisory committee, so citizens were involved with the process of all these changes in the document.
And there were 3 or 4 of those meetings.
There was 4 of those meetings. There was a town hall meeting for all citizens to attend in the middle, so if they could go over what changes there were, and anyone could come in and make a statement based on their opinion. So there were plenty of meetings throughout
Lots of public
the year, yeah.
Do you remember any fire officials at any of those?
Off the top of my head, I don't believe there were any fire officials
Okay.
in the citizen advisory.
All right, so I just wanted
An
to
audience.
clarify the difference between the Citizen Advisory Committee that definitely you read and the one that was in this process. And do we have any idea that the fire department has seen this?
So the wait, I think what Sean was saying is the state fire marshal.
Yeah.
The state laws, these are complying with the state
Yeah.
laws, and the state fire marshal, yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a local guy. It's, these things go to the state fire marshal and he knows all the laws, probably more than anybody here on the fire board. And he goes, yeah, this complies. Is that what you're
These
thinking?
These are complying with the state laws.
When they came up with state building codes.
Yeah,
The state fire officials are involved.
so I'm feeling confident that this has been reviewed for fire and safety,
By following the state codes, I think we are.
even though we didn't have a guy here from the local fire.
Right. But I also think it might be worth, next time we have these kinds of things come up, we can invite them to, if they'd like to participate. I don't think there's a problem with that.
Oh, I didn't heard one other thing. The building height limit is 35 feet. And for a roof, you get the average. You have a 30-foot building and a 10-foot roof. That's as high as it can get, 40 feet. The average of that roof is 35. And maybe you can squish a building around and get it taller. I don't know how. So I never did see 52 feet in here. I only saw building height 35.
I think that came up by the consultant, but I never saw that either.
No, there's a
Okay.
50 foot, there's 50 feet in here. It goes up to 50 feet.
Up to 50 feet is correct.
All right, so
The 35 is the old height.
I think that came from the state land use thing where they said if you had to have, if you wanted commercial and residential above,
But
and the only way it was feasible economically was if there was
3 stories
three
above.
stories above, right?
So a
So
four-story
building.
building. Okay, that's right.
So,
That's probably in a different zone. I didn't see it.
yeah, I think that was in a, I
As
don't
to-
remember which zone that was, but.
I'd like to, Rocky's concerned about this document, more people should know it. This is a huge, what's in front of us right now is huge. And, yeah, there's a lot here and I mean, I'm not gonna delay, but if we get done tonight, I'll be amazed. So, I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right.
Mr.
So-
Chairman, could we have a little more volume, please?
Okay, we will speak up. Thank you. So, Walt, for your background, we started reviewing the document, going through some things. There were some questions for the consultants for clarification. I think there are some additional questions. Are you comfortable trying to answer some of those to understand it?
As you're aware, I'm coming in a little bit late on this. My activity sort of ended middle of January with the consultants. And I think I looked at it one more time briefly for some of the code amendments. I don't have a lot of the background on how things were arrived at. So I will be happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Please understand, I just don't have all the supporting information. And as long as you don't mind me being kind of blunt to say I'm not sure and I just don't have the info. I'm not trying to make things difficult. I just want to be honest with what I do know and also what I don't know.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we will start our deliberations. Ken, would you like to start? I think you probably have the most comments or questions. What are some of your?
Okay. This, at the bottom of page 5, not the staff report, page 5, but the bottom of page 5, exhibit A. Dwelling unit. I thought this sentence was awkward and really had ambiguous meaning, and a dwelling unit means a building or portion of a building that has independent living facilities. I think the word independent is deceiving because it almost sounds like an SRO, a single room occupancy, including provisions for sleeping, cooking, and sanitation that is designed for residential occupancy by a group of people. That's hard to distinguish between that and an SRO. So I thought it would be more clear if we scratch the word independent and put in communal, which is a weird word, but it seemed to work. So it's a building that has communal living facilities, not separate locking sleeping quarters that to differentiate it from the SRO, including provisions for sleeping, cooking, and sanitation designed for occupancy by a group of people. Now it's different from an SRO, which is, like I said, you have locking living rooms, bedrooms.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, that's toward the top. So Walt, do you have any thoughts on that?
I was finally able to call up the item. Which one is that again? Sorry, Ken.
It's in the definitions, bottom
Yeah.
of page 5, a dwelling unit.
Okay.
And it's hard to differentiate between that and the single room occupancy on the top of page 9.
Well, actually, dwelling unit is pretty clear because that covers the issues of anything from a single family home, which is a dwelling unit.
Yeah.
A duplex has 2 dwelling units. Apartments can have however many dwelling units. This simply says, in fact, this is pretty much consistent with what the building code calls for. It needs to have a place that you can sleep, you have um, provisions for sanitation and cooking. And by occupancy by a group of people, it goes to the definition of family. So whatever you have for family. So it's probably a little nuanced, but from a planning perspective, if you say dwelling unit, I know exactly what you mean. That is a apartment unit, it's a single family home, it's one half of a duplex, whatever basically a family occupies.
Does it also mean an SRO? I mean,
No,
is it okay that it incorporates that? Because it looks like it does.
well,
looks-
let me get down to single room occupancy.
So when I read the single room occupancy,
Yeah.
there's the very last line, but required that the occupant
Yes,
share sanitary or food preparation facilities with other units in the occupancy.
right. A
That's-
dwelling unit does not share with anyone else.
So a dwelling unit, those aren't shared.
You are sharing them. You all have like one bathroom.
Oh. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing where you're seeing the confusion.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is under dwelling unit, it's talking about provisions for sleeping, cooking for the residents, for a group of people. It sounds like similar.
If it's okay that a dwelling unit includes an SRO, I'm okay. But if it's meant to be differentiate from it, I don't think it does.
No, a dwelling unit does not include an SRO. An SRO is a very specific, um,
It would
very specific. Basically, you have rooms that you share, either sanitary facilities or food prep, but you don't have both in the room. A dwelling unit has those.
Could you say that an SRO consists of multiple dwelling units?
Yeah, in fact, it says that no fewer than 4 attached units
So,
that are
yeah.
independently rented and lockable. You basically live and sleep there for an occupant, one occupant, not a family or group of people, which dwelling unit calls for.
All right, I'm gonna
And
let it go. I
yeah,
just, independent kind of, in the dwelling unit, looks like independent living facilities, sounds like SRO, that's why I suggested the word communal living facilities.
I
In
think,
common.
yeah, I think from a practical standpoint, these are two different things, very much so.
Okay, if it's clear to everybody else, I'm fine. 5 and 6 dwelling unit. Lot, well, this is just some typo stuff. They've got lines through things that shouldn't have lines through them, I guess. A lot means a through lot at the bottom of near the bottom of 6 means a lot having frontage on 2 parallel streets. But they left out the interior part. Is a through lot also one that's on the end of the block?
No, that's a corner lot. That will be the definition above. Uh, a through lot is specifically, well, see, at that point, then you're looking at a corner lot that fronts on 3 streets.
Yes.
And
So
that's
that's my point.
right.
Is
So
that a different thing or is that a through lot?
that's just a lot at the end of the block. And that's not a through lot.
Well, this definition allows for that because it doesn't say, it left out the word interior.
You know, I think it's going to be a rare situation where
Yeah,
have that. I think as it stands, 99% of what this is trying to stop is someone that has 2 access points on parallel streets. You really want to avoid that for traffic reasons, and it also makes kind of development a little interesting. Um, so yeah, that's something that you really want to avoid if you can. It's more of a design issue.
So how does that address I mean, if it is a rarity, does that define it as a through lot? I guess is the question.
I think the bottom line is really a lot having frontage on two parallel streets. That's different from a corner lot that it abuts two streets, but provide you notice the other one has one on an angle. It sort of differentiates between, normally we consider 90 degrees, but it can go up to 135 degrees. A through lot talks about parallel streets. So you go at the front door, there's one street, you go at the back door, there's another street that's running parallel. So I think that would work. I don't see any reason to make a change on that. The issue for through lot is really parallel. And then, yeah.
So for a lot at the end of the block that has a street on three sides, is there anything in the code should we have something in the code even that limits the access points on that house?
Actually, there's going to be some, I think an owner would have some options. Normally, I think if I recall reading on some of the material, it talks about you always take the street that has the lower classification. Also, from a planning perspective, I would always try to advise someone that if that's the situation, locate the driveway in the home to allow you to potentially further partition the property. Again, that's going to be a real unusual situation. And what they have is basically an end lot. And in fact, chances are there would only be two ways to really access because along the broad side, the longest dimension, that doesn't give you a lot of room to meet setback requirements. So I think that's going to be a restrictive factor. I think the definition holds for what we're trying to do on land divisions. So I think that's the case.
So what you're saying is where that term is used elsewhere in the code, that situation isn't affected by that change difference.
Right. I think the meaning is pretty clear from a practical application standpoint.
Okay. So, you're right about the strike through, right? So my question is, how are we communicating this up to the consultant? Since they're,
Say somebody agrees with something I've said, and we want to change
Right.
it. Where does that go?
You can recommend it with changes.
yeah, so I think
Yeah.
we
You
need
would
to
have
have,
to list that as a change, right?
Okay,
If
we
that was
need
part
to-
of the
well-
project.
Okay, let me see if I'm gonna try again. Just the definition of lot. The sentence is poorly written. Means the unit of land is created by a subdivision or a tract of land having a frontage upon a street. Let's put in the words, comma, and is occupied or to be occupied. Otherwise, you have to read the sentence 3 times before it's just a bad sentence. So here's my proposal. We put in the word comma and is right there.
where at?
We're on the definition of lot.
Right.
One line up from the bottom after the word street.
Okay. Okay. So do we have a fresh copy that we could provide, fill out? Make marks on to give to the consultant?
You can't just list them on a piece of paper.
I don't,
Oh, I mean,
Do you need
let's
paper?
mark up a fresh one. Yeah.
or, no, you need it?
Well, I was hoping to use it again.
Oh,
It's 300 pages, but it's fine.
Is there a better use than what we're doing?
well, so you're saying,
Our changes to the
So-
consultants?
the other option is that you could do a log of each entry. Or I don't have any paper, I could need some paper to use, I didn't bring paper.
It might be easier to find them on a log. You're welcome to my pad.
You give me a couple pages.
No, I'll do the whole thing.
Okay, we'll do that. That way you'll have your copy.
All right.
Okay, so on page number 1,
Appendix 6. I speak appendix A, page 6.
are exhibit A. Right? Instead of appendix.
Why did I say that?
I'm happy to write this down if you guys
Okay,
want to just make sure you clarify. the
Okay,
page
if
and
you
what
want to do it,
you're
great.
If you want, okay, we'll do that. All right, do you wanna state
So-
it or?
Yeah, so on the,
Exhibit A, page 6.
page 6,
Okay,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up from the bottom is the word is lot, the definition of a lot. After the word street, put a comma and the words and is.
Between street and occupied.
Yeah.
hold on, I'm looking at. I'm gonna have to go on paper because my page numbers on my computer aren't matching up.
Well, she's doing that. I'm gonna start talking about the next one.
Okay.
The definitions of manufactured dwelling, residential trailer, mobile home, manufactured home are, they don't follow. At the bottom of 6, a manufactured dwelling means a residential trailer, a mobile home, or a manufactured home. Any of those three. And those are differentiated by a date they were made. We know that, remember from last time, the trailer is the old one, the mobile home is in the middle. The manufactured home is not defined. So if you turn the page and look at manufactured home, it doesn't give the date of after June 15th. So it also, as it stands, it includes a trailer and a mobile home. Unless we exclude those by saying manufactured home was built after June 15th, 1976.
So, Walt, did you follow that?
Yes, I did. If I recall, I think these definitions are right out of state law or building law, I believe. I think building. Yes, I've seen these in like every code and it's pretty similar. And I think they mirror state regulations. Because if you go down a little bit further, look at mobile home and it's very specific as to dates and sort of construction dates. I understand what you're saying. We also make differentiations between using a manufactured dwelling for an infill further on in the code and also a manufactured dwelling or manufactured home that may be used for a manufactured home park. So I don't know if that's helping. It's like these are pretty much taken out of state law.
So, what I, would it be safe to say that manufactured dwelling is the modern term? And therefore, that's why there's no dates. That's the current term that should be used in the code. Because
Yeah.
mobile home and residential both have,
Manufactured home is the modern term.
right, I'm sorry.
Manufactured dwelling covers them all.
Okay, manufactured home is the modern term. Mobile home and residential trailer or like. What's it, yeah, those have dates because those were historical terms.
Right.
Whereas manufactured is a current term, so that's.
Well, my point is, if later in the code, it refers to a manufactured home, which it doesn't always say manufactured dwelling, manufactured homes come in farther down. That will include a residential trailer and a mobile home. By the definition of my manufactured home.
From what you're reading here.
So I'm not sure that the rest of this code intends that residential trailers and mobile homes are meant to be included in some of these.
Where it says,
Zones.
where it says manufactured, I would say they're
I think they are excluded.
right.
And this allows them to be included because it doesn't differentiate. See, the diagram looks like this. Here's a manufactured dwelling, it includes all three.
Mhm.
But a manufactured home includes these two over here.
I guess I'm not seeing that second part.
Okay, because if you look at the definition of manufactured home, it says all these things that go down the highway and are for humans to live in. Doesn't exclude a residential trailer or a mobile home.
So. So could we, why don't we put the proposed changes that we would like to have the dates
Yes.
added to the definition of manufactured home?
Yep.
Applicable dates.
Yeah, safety standards and regulations in effect at time of construction. Let's see. Was constructed in accordance with manufactured housing, construction and safety standards and regulations in effect at the time of construction after June 15th, 1976.
Did you catch that?
Well, I'm still on exhibit A, page
Okay,
6.
sorry.
So.
Okay. The
What are we
definition,
what are we looking at for that?
the definition of lot, there's, that's.
Okay, so where it says lot,
Okay. It talks about land having a frontage upon a street. Occupied or to be occupied.
okay,
Between the word street and occupied, add, what was it?
Comma, and is.
And is.
okay, so upon street, between street and,
Occupied. Comma, and is occupied or to be occupied.
okay, and the next is on,
Page 7, the very next page,
okay,
the definition of manufactured home. At the end of that definition, we want to add. Well, I don't remember the dates.
After June 15th, 1976.
Constructed after June 15th, 1976. Yeah, that-
All right, I'm just gonna skip this next
and
one.
is that uniform with everything, across the board, or is that just
What's that?
specifically, so this is definitions in.
Exhibit A. We're all on exhibit A. All right, what's the next one?
The difference between a residential trailer and a RV is kind of fuzzy, but I'm just gonna let it go. 10. So. And now we're in a single family. And it includes manufactured dwellings, mobile homes, manufactured homes, prefabricated structures. So it looks like they're excluding trailers there. Oh, we're on use A. And is that, Roald, is that something that is done now, excluding trailers, things made before?
I'm
That
not
ancient.
sure. Okay, where are you? I kind of missed that part here.
Okay, we're in C, or we're in 10.12.020.
Oh, okay, you've jumped ahead.
Yep.
Use. Okay, there we go. Okay. Um.
And what was the question?
Oh, it seems to exclude residential trailers.
Yes, absolutely. This is your single family zone.
Yep.
Think of this as like probably 90% are going to be site-built structures. Okay? This is the zone that also allows manufactured homes and dwellings and prefabricated structures that comply with the energy envelope requirement. So in other words, yes, every single family home in this zone has to meet the same energy requirement.
And a trailer doesn't do that.
And because we cleaned up the
Trailers don't
definition
do
of
that.
manufactured home, we've been able to, we exclude trailers.
Right. Trailers don't do that.
Okay, so the intent was to exclude and now we do.
Right. And that is certainly consistent with state law.
Okay.
Thank you.
Childcare. Okay, page 11. No longer conditional, needs no notice. So this is a long litany of, or the beginning of a long litany of, it used to be the planning commission. And now it's planning staff. No, that's not staff.
Planning official.
Planning official. Right, and some of this is state law. I'm just gonna jump to the end of this litany and say, hey, guess what? Way back, finally, in the code under citizen business or commercial business overlay,
Mhm.
they allow a type 3 review.
Okay.
First one of all those new zones they've made, we're excluded. Well, there's by notice, if there's an appeal, then we come in.
Right.
But that's the one, so if that's allowed by state law, why isn't all these other zones allowed for it to be a type 3 review?
So do you want to speak to that, Walt? I think I'm guessing why, but
Okay.
I'll let Walt answer maybe. Did you follow the question?
Okay, anytime that a use is allowed outright within the code, you can have a site design review process, but that site design review process and where you have a site design review process, that has to be done as a type 2. Now, what are you referring to on the type 3? Where does that come in?
Okay.
That kind of threw me there.
All right.
10.20 amendment chapter, it says R3 mixed residential. On page 18, I guess.
18, okay.
Is that the one you're talking about? The mixed residential?
I don't think that is a
It's on
type 3.
page 25 of the PDF.
Yeah, are you saying that that's a type 3?
Well, no, isn't that what you're saying that where we can review it?
No, it's this commercial business.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking residential.
Yeah, so I'm,
Okay. The whole idea of the R1 zone or R2 or most of these residential zones, you really want to have, I don't want to use the word exclusive. I think what the conditional use process in type 3 recognize here is that there might be instances where some types of uses might be compatible with a residential area, but you just don't want to permit them outright. You want to have some sort of overview. So if going back to R1, yes, there are conditional uses and that's where the planning commission would step in. Everything else is permitted outright or permitted through a site design review. So at this juncture, the planning commission would only look at development in the R1 zone if it was sort of under 030, or if you hear an appeal from a staff review.
residential limited commercial zone is a new zone that is type 2.
I'm trying to find
And which includes manufactured dwelling parks are no longer, that will just be a type 2. Flood hazard overlay that's planning official. I don't know, I can't find this in my notes. I would come up to it logically. Where is the code for the central business district overlay?
Uh,
What off-street parking?
that is way down.
Yes. Bicycle, why can't I find it? Temporary structures. Conditional use.
Which one are you looking for? Residential limited commercial zone?
No, the central business
Oh,
district
central
overlay.
business. Yeah.
Is that zoning? It's,
Central,
yeah, can you search for it?
yeah. Central.
There isn't any,
Pardon me?
by those exact words, if I search it, there's nothing that comes up, so it's.
Central
So it's
business,
under something else. There's a central business district.
yes. For that.
Off-street parking section. That's not even that. Let's see. Exhibit C
Exhibit what? C?
is
Exhibit.
that's the downtown code.
Facility overlay?
Okay. Exhibit C.
Okay, if you go to page 164,
Of which document?
yeah, of the, oh boy, you would have to ask.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
it's
that's
like,
the whole thing.
yeah, it would be page 164 of the whole thing. I'm not sure if it's,
We've got to find exhibit C.
okay,
Exhibit C is the downtown document, downtown code
okay.
change.
So on Exhibit C downtown document, it would be,
C.
yeah, hold on, there it was. Central Business District Overlay Zone, and that is on page 17.
17 of that document?
Yes, that's what I see here. Now,
17 of exhibit C.
yeah, that's not the C3.
Yes, yeah, here it is, yeah. So according to me, it went 164.
Yeah, I'm on page
that what you're
17.
looking for? What you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm on it. I got it.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I see where this comes in. If you look under 1046.090, which would be on the bottom of page 19, it says the commission, as part of a design review process, may allow modification through a variance. All
Yes.
variances have to go through the planning commission. Staff does not look at variances because they are highly discretionary. They're not, cut and dried. So if you look elsewhere in the code, I think it's under 10.120 or 128. It talks about the process, and the process says you can have multiple applications, but you always review the applications wherever you have the highest level. So a site design review, staff would review a site design review with a variance. The planning commission would review the whole thing.
Okay. I understand now. That because it's a variance we have that will come to us first.
Exactly. In
All right.
fact, not only do you look at the variance, you also look at the site design.
We also look at the site design of a modification, no,
Yeah.
to the site design requirements.
Right. So if someone comes in with the site design and they want to vary whatever portion of it, it's like it zips right to the planning commission, the entire request. the site design itself and what they're trying to vary. So you would look at the whole thing.
So the site design review, those words, site design review always is the type 3. The site development review is always type 1 or 2.
Well, see, what it says here, it says site design standards.
Yeah.
And so site design review is what I do with a variance you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we're here on this page, looking at 10.46.070 building standards, going down to E3, that's 10.46.070
Special design requirements.
building standards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the E is special.
And then E is
design.
special design requirements. And now we lost in number 3 by being crossed out. Most important tool we had to make that gas station look as good as it does. Building design, this is crossed out. Buildings shall be similar in character and design with existing. We used that like a hammer
Yeah, we did.
until we got what I think is a handsome gas station compared to what it could have
What
looked
it
like.
could have been.
Yep.
So I do not want to, and yes, it's arbitrary. Good. Well, do you see it's against state law to put that back in?
Ooh. Hey, welcome back, Walt. Um, part of the issue, I see, I'm trying to think how you can do a workaround on that. I understand exactly what you're saying here. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You could put it back in with a clear understanding that staff could deny a request because it is not similar in character. I know it's somewhat discretionary, and have them appeal that to you for a decision. In other words, I'm not trying to create barriers. What I'm just saying is that I would have a little bit more discretion than I think state law anticipates, but I've done this in Dundee where I had to look at whether or not the building met the Italianate design of like the early 20s. I mean, some really weird stuff. And I could go ahead and just kind of look at that
So
and go ahead.
would there be less legal finagling? Would it be clearer if we actually defined what our style was? Like if we defined a certain era and style of building that we would like.
You could do that, but bear in mind you're going to be basically stuck with the same design forever. I mean, there's a cautionary tale. Sisters has, even though they have a design theme, the buildings are quite different.
Right.
Yeah. You could probably put it in, and if DLCD has an issue with it, they will raise the flag when they go through the final review. So I tell you what, if you folks feel more comfortable having that in there, then I'd rather see it in there and deal with it later than keep it out.
Are you there, Angie?
No.
Okay, are you at 10.46.070?
It's building standards.
Oh, I am at that.
Good.
Oh,
Down E,
wait, hold on, 10.46, there was a cross out.
Yeah, it's if you were on the previous one where we were talking about 090.
10.46 says O and it looks like 090. Oh, okay. So
Yeah, it's the
before that?
page before that.
Page 18?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Building standards.
So under 070 building standards, item E, number 3. It's currently crossed out.
Okay.
We would like it uncrossed out. And we haven't really talked about, goals. We've been talking about having a future meeting, talk about things we should pursue. One of the things I came away from with the gas station, and this is an aside beside this document, was I felt like we didn't have a good definition of what similar in character and design was. And
Mm-hmm.
thought we needed to try to figure out what that was. So that's a future goal. I don't think we need to do that for this document, but I think it's something we should have conversations about. If that's a big deal.
Point of information, I think that was something that was gonna be discussed when the planning and council had their work
That's
session.
kind of what I thought too. So I was that's a bit in the back of my mind for that work study session. Because then we can come back here and modify this at a later date if we wanted to.
I thank you for bringing that up. At some point, this will be implemented, and then usually down the road, you're going to have a short or maybe long list of things you want to change or tweak, or things you go, gee, I wish we could add this based on our experience. When I worked in Lebanon, they went through a 4-year process to write a new code. And we already went back to the plan commission after 4 months to make changes. So, I mean, you're not going to capture everything first time round, but definitely put that on the list, sort of to-do list. And that's something where we could think about what we would like to see for character and design and define that and have a discussion.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, leave that in there. Let's see what happens. How's that?
All right. Sounds good. You got that one? Thank you, Angie. All right. You have another one, Ken?
Yeah, I'm on, boy, this is 14. Why PUDs not need a site review? So, yeah, PUDs, oh, gosh. I don't know why I'm not page number. Oh, well, never mind. So go ahead, Walt.
Actually, a PUD requires planning commission review.
Okay,
Yes, it does.
I don't know where I got that idea.
No, it definitely requires because it is completely discretionary. You have a lot of flexibility in how you view the PUD
Good.
and what sort of let's say flexibility you wish to grant the applicant. So yes,
I'm on
that's
page, let me go to, well, I guess in general, we don't have to find a page, but it looks like in R1 and R2, there's no, excuse me. In R2 and R3, their accessory dwellings are not allowed. Is that common?
what? No, I think we have to allow that. That I think may have been let me get back up there.
Okay, well then let's get specific.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
accessory. Well,
Let's
whoa.
go to, we're in,
You're in Exhibit A again?
yeah, sorry, back to page 14 for those with a printout. It's 10.16.020. And going down to K6. Accessory dwelling is crossed out.
Well, I'm looking at the R2 zone and it's listed in the R2 zone.
Accessory dwelling, yeah, it is listed up at the top.
Yeah.
For C, right?
In 10.16.010, way at the top under purpose, it says accessory dwelling.
Yeah.
But down under use,
It's in use under A.
yeah,
O2 A is
Okay.
listed there also.
all right. So
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a reorganization of the code where
It
it was
is.
down below, they moved it up above.
it is. Okay. Now, the target density on page 18, 10.20.010.
Mhm.
The mixed residential. You've got the target density, it reads in, 10.20.010. Down at the bottom of that paragraph, the target net density is 5.4 dwelling units per acre, and for multi, 3.3 to 20. I understand the 20, I think the 3.3 must be a typo. 3.3 dwelling units per acre?
Which is very low.
Yeah, I just can't imagine.
Yeah. Again, I'm not too sure where that came from. Um, that is kind of low. What I could do is follow up with either Doug or Steve and note that. Let me just write a note here. Okay.
Because that's lower than R1.
Yeah, it's like, why even bother? Okay, multifamily density 3.3. I don't know if that was part of the buildable lands inventory that they conducted, but that does seem kind of low. So I will follow up on that specifically with Steve or Doug, and maybe they can go through their notes.
So, okay, so in the spirit of trying to get this approved tonight,
Yeah.
this is a change that would keep us from approving this. I mean, we can look
Well,
into.
yeah, I don't want to put a funny number in there. Let's see if we can make some sense. Well, the R2, R3 is, the target is back in R3, what is the target number?
The R3 target, what do you mean, what
The
target?
target density,
5.4.
5.4. And so in R, is that the same for R2, 5.4?
Let me check.
And then in R1, it's 4.7.
R2, it is 5.4.
That's right. And then R1 is 4.7. So why is there a differentiation here between dwelling units and multifamily? Why doesn't it say between 5.4 and 20 in this mixed residential zone? Let's
Okay.
just change it to that. Why this sentence split into target density is 5.4 for dwelling units per acre, and for multifamily, which that's the zone we're under, 3.3 to 20, why not just say the target
It should at least 5.4.
is 5.4, that's if there's no multifamily, only R2 on 6,000 square foot lots.
Right.
Actually, that's mirrored in the RM zone, so you would be entirely consistent, and that also has a 20 dwelling unit per acre cap. So, Ken, I think that would be just, kind of clean that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angie, are you there?
I am there.
Great. So
What changes do you want to make?
we're just gonna go from 5.4 and then after that dash 20 dwelling units per acre, period. Right, John?
I'm trying to think, is there a reason why they would be separated out, Walt?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I don't.
I think that doesn't make sense, because if you look at this zone and you look at the multifamily zone, no, that doesn't make sense. Generally, what you do, yeah, the multifamily zone allows duplexes. No, it does make sense to call those out.
Okay.
In the past, you would have something that says single family development must be at a maximum of 5 units per acre, where a multifamily can be whatever. I think the best idea go to 5.4 to 20 dwelling units per acre. That's
Which is, like you said, mirrored in the RM multifamily, which is
right.
subtly different.
Okay, so Angie, ready? Okay,
So 5.4 to 20 dwelling units per acre for multifamily.
no,
Or are you wanting to say
Period after acre,
multifamily
period
5.4
after
to
acre,
20? Okay.
period after acre, no multifamily anything in the sentence.
Dwelling units per acre. Period, multifamily.
Now, I'd like to point out that that Yamhill used to have a limit of 8 units. And we've gone to, as far as I can tell, unlimited. By that chart on,
Where did you see that?
right here on 21, number of dwelling units, it's 11 or more. Is a 4,000 plus 4,000 square feet plus 2,000. The number of dwelling units, and that's kind of how this table was built. Yeah, and I don't see it, there's no cap. Right, and they have a zoning, but the target density is 20. Right. And 20 would be, this formula spits out 44,000 square feet, which is very close to an acre with 20 units on it. So I guess if it,
So it's just.
so but the density can't be, the density can't be higher, but the complex could be huge. We've gone from an aplex to whatever. And I guess that's according to state law. We can't do anything about that. Well, it seems like a dwelling unit, an apartment unit could be as big as the developer thinks he can sell.
Well, no, you do have an upper limit. In fact, I think there was that chart there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that chart basically,
it says 11 or more. It doesn't have a cap on how many more.
okay. Well, remember, this is per acre,
Sure. Now you can only have 20 per acre.
right?
But if you
So,
got a 2-acre site, you could have 40 units.
so you can have to do a 2-acre site would be, okay, let me just really quickly, it would be for.
like, you'll never have it like that through lot at the end of the street. Never mind. I'm going to say never mind. I'm just bringing it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually for a 2-acre site, it would run around 20 units per acre. I think 22 maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
So in other words, you have a target that you'd like to meet. So when it
Yeah.
comes time to the buildable inventory, you could say, hey, this has been our target and we've kind of met the bottom end or we're getting closer to the top end. So that goes a long way to push the issue. And there's also there's a little asterisk there. Oh, it doesn't tie into anything.
Yeah, I know, I was wondering what the little asterisk was for.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
Oh, also realistically, one thing I did note here
Yeah.
is, or on any multifamily development, you still have to provide open space, you still have to provide parking, you
Yep.
still have to meet all the setbacks, and when you're all said and done, 20 is really kind of pushing it.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Just no changes. Just asking what's possible. On just the multifamily.
But go
Go ahead.
You said no changes on 10.20.010, or is this a separate thing that you're talking about?
Oh, this is a
We
separate
moved
thing.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, we assumed you're done.
All right.
You got a
yeah,
period after acre and you're done.
per acre.
All right. So what's
Got it.
next thing on your list?
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
I very much appreciate the work that you are doing. I very much do. But this is a business meeting and we would like to follow along, and I think that's reasonable. If you could please give the page number, the section number, and any of the references so that we can look at exactly what you're talking about, it would be so helpful. We do want to support you. Thank you.
Rocky, if you want to use the desk, pull up a chair so you can spread your papers out. you know? Because it's hard on your lap, so feel free to do that so we can help you get to the right page.
Well, I'm getting to the right place, but I need to hear exactly.
Okay, I'll take more time with where we're at. Just a point that multifamily residential use will be subject to notice, but not plan commission. So multifamily, a 20-unit apartment building will get built without us unless it's appealed. And that's why I think,
Well, and that's why that's why we were wanting to expand the notification
Right.
radius.
so I think it's time we tackle how much, I mean, they want one number, 300 feet. I'm thinking we need to do the work of saying, this use needs more notice, this doesn't need very much notice. I mean, it's a sign, right? But this is
So,
an RV, it's a mobile home park.
yeah.
It's a drive-in theater. I'm just pulling examples from here, from the floodplain.
So Walt, so one of the things that's come up in the meeting since you've been gone is that there's a lot of things that are staff decisions to approve.
Now,
And-
let's just back up on the word staff. I don't see staff in here very often.
No, it's planning official.
Planning official,
Planning.
thank you.
So the planning official would decide upon or approve. But the caveat is they can be appeal or appealed, is that the word? Okay.
Correct. Correct.
It can be appealed. But one of the discussion points has been the radius of notice if something was going on development wise. And so if a large subdivision was coming in or a large apartment complex or something like that, we want to make sure that people are notified so they can, if they have concerns, they can raise those and appeal that. That would be how it comes to the planning commission for it to be heard. And so a lot of those decisions were based on, I think one was 100 feet and another was 300 feet. And some residents have expressed the desire to have it be bigger.
In some cases, the whole town, like.
Right, so I'm wondering, can we say within the city limits or something? Can we say, is that too much to say?
That is probably a little too much for the simple fact there's going to be a lot of cost, and I think I could see a lot of challenges on the notice. Somewhere along the line, I could write a staff report, do whatever approval, whatnot, goes to the planning commission, and people are challenging notice. It gets rather expensive to put envelopes together. The other thing too, I think if you have too many variables on, say, a site design review gets one level, but this site design review gets greater notice, I think that can also be a little problematic. It always helps the staff level to have some consistency. I don't think there's anything wrong in increasing the size, also recognizing maybe even 500 feet if you want to, or just simply say housing to 300 feet for most everything, and then maybe 500 feet for subdivisions and apartment complexes, just to have a wider range of notice. The other thing is like, Yamhill is a smaller community and everyone will know what's going on. Everything that has to do with planning is public record, always available at City Hall. We also publish notice or place the notice on the website. And I also read some of the recommendations that the staff reports and notices and everything on these type 2 applications be at least published on the city's website, so people are very much aware of it. 300 feet is probably more than adequate. I know that was the distance for the last subdivision that was looked at, and there were a lot of folks there that were certainly beyond the 300-foot level. But if you want to go 500 feet, I would just say keep it either consistent or very few different types of notice distances just to help staff out.
So is it, is it, is there anything keeping anybody from raising an appeal, even if they're outside that 300 feet?
There is not. If someone to raise an appeal, you must provide comment. So if someone is outside a 300-foot area, but they submit a comment, email, writing, whatever, they are automatically entitled to notice of the decision. And that's very important that they put it in writing. It's not enough to say, well, I'm not too happy with it. Put it in writing. Once it's in writing, it's automatically part of the record going there and going forward. As the planning official, it is my responsibility also to respond to all those comments. So no matter whether you're in that 300-foot circle or outside, if you comment, you are part of the process. You will receive notice of the decision. And as part of that decision, I am responsible to respond to that. So if it's ever appealed and goes to the planning commission, you have a complete sort of from beginning to the end, how we got where we're at. So the short answer is yes, as long as they participate in writing on the staff level, we're good.
So if we had a 300-foot notification from a mailing residence standpoint, but we had other, like, the expectation is that it's on the website, that it's on these other places, that's also reaching out to the citizens, right?
That definitely is part of it. And I thought I saw something in there about posting the property.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because that would be my next, if we don't want to increase the distance too much because of the cost or whatever, I think posting the property is a good idea. I think I know in a past meeting I mentioned that I'm familiar with a very large subdivision in Newburgh, and that they've had it posted for 6 weeks. Or not 6 weeks, like several months. There was a sign up saying, taking public comment regarding, this piece of property. And they, like, every 100 feet, they had a sign up.
Wow, that is great.
So,
Because people are gonna see that, that's gonna pass around.
right. So driving down the road, we see that
The
sign.
expense is very low.
Yeah. And it was just those, like a realtor sign, and it said public notice, and it gave all the information about what they were gonna do on the subdivision.
Yeah, because understand there's a cost in staff time and the actual physical cost of the envelope and the notice. And trying to keep it consistent would certainly help out. But again, everything else I heard from various notes from Steve and Doug were like an interest in putting these things on the city website so people can see, hi, we've received an application to partition property at such and such. And we could put some sort of information that, sure, you are welcome to comment. Information is available at City Hall. Some cities even post the complete file on their website. I don't know if we want to do that, but I'm just saying, at least let the public know there are applications in the hopper. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And that ensures, I think, involvement.
So I don't recall, do either of you recall seeing anything about posting the property?
No, we need some quick language tonight, or I don't know that I'm gonna get through my list tonight. I could, but we need language by next time.
I don't think we can continue. I mean, you could not recommend it. And we have a council meeting already noticed for the 11th. So I don't know when we're gonna continue it to go more.
Right.
But okay,
Sit here tonight.
This is a huge overhaul of our code. And to get crammed into 2 meetings, we had a long meeting last time, and they talked at length and educated us. Now I've come back with a lot of questions, some of which I think you would agree are valid. What we've done so far.
Mhm.
We've been here an hour and a half. We could be here another hour and a half. And we may or may not be done. And to be rushed into approving something makes no sense to me. This is our city code.
Well, it's been a year with, there was consultants hired to do the majority of the work.
We have found
Is
mistakes.
there a
But we-
list of items that we want to go through? Definitely, let's go through them.
Yeah.
But
But
Continuing
getting
the
pushed
hearing.
into a city council meeting on the 11th, that doesn't hold much water with me.
Well, I think it has to do with the grant timelines that we
Mhm.
have to have submitted for the funds to be reimbursed, otherwise.
I don't know about that. Let's keep going and see where we get. What we've kind of cut this knot about notice with a sign. And we need verbiage in here about posting the sign publicly. So
So is it fair to say that anywhere that it says 300 feet notice, that we require posting signage
yeah,
on the property?
it's on page 102. I'll give
I
it
don't know whether.
where the
where else it
300
is.
feet is. We can stack, we can put the sign notice there. I'll give you the number here so we can get to 102. 102, Rocky, is where the 300 feet is. It's, oh boy. It's in 10.128.030. It's on the types of reviews. And on your document, it's gonna be page 102, about a quarter up from the bottom. And because their indices are not indented, it makes it really hard to follow this. So we're under
And I'm,
B,
so which one are you looking at? 'Cause
B,
I-
type
I'm-
2. B, no, C, where is C?
I'm-
Type 2 is B, and then we're going down 1, 2, under 2. BI,
Mhm.
and there's the word 300 feet. All owners of record of real property with minimum 300 feet.
Yes.
And that is, okay, under I, it's about procedure.
There's a couple of them, that's one of
Oh,
them.
yeah, A, 14 days prior to the decision, the plan, official, I'm up on A now above. Shall prepare an affidavit of notice stating the notice was mailed, which shall be part of the file. Right in here, draft public notice is V. Draft public notice and mailing list. This is what the city does. Is the city gonna post this or the developer?
I'm on the right page.
And there's several places where we're gonna have to do something here, so I think we just need to sort out some details and then we'll tell
Okay.
you which ones. Cause I found like I did a search and I found a bunch of them.
Okay.
The Walt, in other communities, is this something that the developer has done, the posting of the sign, or is this a city task?
I've seen it both ways that first of all, based on the code here, proposal, posting is only for planning commission meetings.
We want to insert it under type 2.
So there's a couple different places, but that's one of them, type 2.
Okay, you're welcome to do so. Now, I think it's important to figure out who's going to do it.
That's what
That's what we're asking, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen it both ways. But if the applicant does it, usually the city provides some sort of sheet or form with like, maybe a A-frame of something. It's just there's a lot of ways of doing it and maybe some weather protection for it, and they post the property. And there's usually like a little brief on the side. And if it's something like a subdivision, you would expect the layout to be seen there. If the city does it, I think the city will need to re-examine its application cost to cover city time to go ahead and post it. If the city posts it, that guarantees it's going to be there. If the applicant fails to post, that's now a procedural error, and that causes other issues. But so I don't know, does the city have the resources to go ahead and post? I mean, is there extra staff that can, public works staff that can go out and do it?
Or is it something that we, as a requirement for the developer?
I see we've got Doug Rux here online. Maybe he can give us a hand.
Doug, are you available?
Yes. I was passively just observing.
So, Doug, we're talking about wanting to be able to post in all the places of the 300-foot notification of I can't what the term is, a change.
Yeah, so what we did as a proposal, based upon all the conversations over the course of the last year about going to a type 1 through 4 process, which you've already discussed. So now we're talking about the type 2. And so Ken had raised the question about posting of signage for applications. So Walt judiciously indicated it could be either way. And we both have worked with communities who've done it either way. So you could require a posting of a site for a type 2 application. Then the question is, who does the posting?
Yeah.
So you could require the applicant to do the posting. You would have to come up with a template that says, this is what our sign looks like. You'd have to go out, you have to post it. We could put language in similar to a type 3, depending on lot frontage and distance. They would post the sign. They would take a picture. They would submit an affidavit that they posted it, and they would submit that to the city, and that would become part of the record. If they don't post it, as Walt indicated, then you got a procedural issue because now their application is deficient. I'm going to use that word, which could be subject to appeals at higher bodies, be it city council, LUBA, court of appeals, so forth and so on. The other way to do it is that the city takes on the responsibility and you do the signs and the admin staff does the affidavit that says that it was posted. So yes, you could have somebody from City Hall do it. You could have your public works staff do it. It has an extra cost. And so you'd have to figure out that cost. And then you would want to consider increasing your application fees for type 2 and 3 applications accordingly to cover that expense.
Now, type 3 already has it, I see.
It says post, it says requires posting, but that language was that the city would do the posting. So if you want the applicant to do it, then you would have to go through my secondary comment about if you want to have the applicant do it, then we could modify the language that says the applicant can do it. The city would have to come up with their template to do that. And then the city would want to consider increasing their application fees to cover the cost.
Well, because it's already in the code for a type 3, the planning official shall post public notice of the public hearing on the subject site, not lost. It's already there. And if the cost is significant, then yeah, up the cost of type 2. But it's already here for type 3, and our proposal is to do it for type 2.
Yeah, so I
Agree?
think, so the proposal on our list, Angie, would just simply be modify type 2 notifications to match type 3 notifications. That, I mean.
And I can give you the paragraph where it is,
I don't-
if that would help.
Well, I don't, yeah, I guess, is that enough for us to say that's what we want and then have it?
And vote on it.
And vote on it.
Yes, for me.
It is for me.
Okay,
Now-
that's word for word the way you want it, then there's no specific.
Yeah, just do
posting a
exact,
sign.
exactly,
like.
yeah, just
Okay.
exactly like type 3, but do it for type 2.
Doug, do you happen to know the difference in cost between a type 2 and type 3? And is the posting a significant part of that difference?
It depends on who you find as a vendor. I mean, you're basically using something like a garage sale sign that says
Right.
land use notice. It states the case number, and then it gives the city phone number to be able to contact. And then it puts it on the onus of city staff to provide the information. And Walt was correct about getting stuff up on your website, even in a simple form for type 2, 3, and 4 applications, so that the public is aware. I did encourage the 300 feet to kind of
Okay.
monetize, because you had different numbers for different types of land use actions that range from 200 feet to 500 feet. Nobody ever said, there was nothing in your code said the entire city. And so I said 300 feet is a good discussion point to start with, and it
Okay.
makes it a lot simpler for staff.
Good, good, good. I'm not seeing that we need to worry about the cost going up that much.
So my only other question is, do we need to consider 10.116? Mobile, I gotta find, no, maybe that's not it. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. 10.20, there, it's 10.120.020. It talks about it for mobile home parks
10.120,
on page 87.
87, page 87.
And I don't know which document that was. 87.
And it's
It's an exhibit. It's an exhibit A.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's 10.120 what?
10.120.020.
Yeah, application procedure,
300, but that notification address is located within 300 feet of that property
mobile home parks.
of the proposed park. So it's the mobile home proposed park. Does that fall under type 2?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, then the type 2 covers this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But that 300 feet is
I just wanted to make sure.
kind of weird that the 300 feet appears there. Doesn't seem necessary.
Well, it's because, remember, I brought this up before. You have a code that is very old. It's very difficult to maneuver. And so we were trying to modernize and make sure we were meeting all the state law provisions that were applicable. So there were some changes that you talked about earlier. We did not make changes, but you've suggested changes. That's okay. But what you have in your mobile homes, it already indicated it was 300 feet. We were not changing that. We went in to the site, into the procedures process, and made everything consistent at 300 feet.
Yes,
Okay.
I see that. Okay, so now we're gonna notify, this is really calming me down. There's gonna be a sign for multifamily. There's gonna be a sign for mobile home parks. There's gonna be a sign for drive-in theaters. All these things that were, that have become type 2, that are a big deal. I have a sign on the road. This is great. I'm very happy. All right. 5.4 twice. So I imagine you really wanted to jump in, Dave, on that 3.3 to 20 dwelling units per acre under multifamily zone.
Well, it gets to your table that you have
Yeah.
when you were looking at your R3 zone, where you had lot sizes of 6,000 square feet, but then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you jump up and you change from one development type to a different development type. And so when we ran through the math, is that for multifamily, it was 3.3. If you want to say 5.4, perfectly fine. Not a problem with that. It's just the math is correct. It's just you have two different types of development types occurring, and you have different lot sizes. And so when you run the calculation, that's the answer the calculation gives you.
Okay,
Thank you.
right?
Oh. Yeah, okay, 29, new construction, assure compatibility by Official, this is not a checkbox. Okay. 29, page 29, new construction. Okay, I'm on page 29, 10.24.050, limitations on use, and we're under residential limited commercial zone. And then at the bottom of the page, that would be A7. Construction shall be in conformance to the plan provided by the planning official to assure compatibility with adjacent residential dwellings. Now, my understanding of type 2 is it's kind of supposed to be the checkbox. It's not about a decision. It's about, is this criteria met? Yes. But assuring compatibility
Sounds subjective.
is subjective. And so we're turning over subjective decisions to one person. And we don't even know who that person is right now. I mean, it's not Walt, it's somebody new. And it just seems that there's a three-legged stool: citizens, elected officials, and hired experts. And if you've got one leg, it's not comforting.
Well, I think I could provide some clarity for that. Under the only commercial uses allowed in the RLC zone require conditional use approval. So if you want to have a office use, professional office, restaurant, retail uses, etc., all those require conditional uses, and by conditional uses, that does require planning commission review. So there are certain conditions. The only thing A says is that the development plan is submitted to the planning official for the approval, but that's kind of a misnomer. It's these are conditional uses, and that does go to the planning commission.
Okay. Well then, that reminds me of the old Latin, never mind. All right.
Rosanna Dan.
Yeah. Okay, sure compatibility, page 30, an awkward sentence, never mind. 32.
Understand, keep a list of this stuff because as I mentioned before, 6 months from now, once this is passed, probably 6 months later, there's going to be these little tweaks you want to work in. And so
Okay.
that could be one of them.
Well,
But
I'm never gonna go back and spend 2 afternoons going, oh, where are those commas and where's those awkward sentences? I'm done. And who else is gonna do it? I don't even know that the city elected officials are gonna do what we did today and yesterday. Will they ever read this line by line and comma by awkward sentence? Nobody's ever gonna do this again, as far as I can tell. Until there's a problem and somebody has some ambiguity. So I just think, I don't know, you say, yeah, things will come up. They'll come up because they're a problem. Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, that's my speech for now is the time. So we're in the flood hazard zone overlay, page 32, 10.40.
So I don't think we've changed anything in that. have we?
Yeah, except planning official from planning commission.
At all.
Yeah,
existing
and I just wondered, is that state law?
To be planning official.
Yeah, that's just, I just kind of want to ask that question now and then, every time this is changed from planning commission to planning official. Is that state law? Is that because of state law, Dave? He's gone. You ducked out.
Okay, no, that's not a requirement, but you have to have someone in the city designated to do it. It is actually the city administrator who's usually designated the person in charge of floodplain, but they are the planning official in charge, if you will. So in this case, the role is designated to the planning official, and that's fine.
But I think what Ken is asking is changing it from planning commission to public official, or I mean, staff or planning
Not a
official.
problem. Not
Is
a
that a state request, a state?
No, it's not, but bear in mind, a lot of the floodplain stuff is really technical. And every time I've worked with it, I've always had to get a little assistance from the state on interpretation or application.
So in other words, it's technical enough that we would need to get a hydraulic engineer or a state official to give us advice.
Well, for example, some of the things are pretty simple. It's like elevating the structure over the
Right.
1 foot above the base flood elevation. There's a process in that. They just go ahead, they come up with the information, they have the surveyor shoot the site, shoot the foundation, they certify that it's at least a foot above. Those are just technical requirements that you're basically filling out paperwork. It gets a little bit more problematic when you're looking at subdivisions and whatnot. And also, don't forget as far as I know, the FEMA requirements to incorporate habitat issues, fish habitat issues, have not changed. So again, folks are going to be hiring experts on that to meet those requirements.
I'm willing to let this one go. Okay. Okay. Going to page 42. I don't know what the number is yet. 42, Rocky. And when I get there, it may say, never mind, all those uses are up to staff. Okay.
Yeah, it's all changing the commission.
Yeah, public park, open space, farming, the bottom of page 42. Campgrounds, travel trailer park, drive-in theater. Planning official. Yeah. But there'll be a sign there. There'll be a sign that there's gonna be a drive-in theater here. Okay. So that sign. Okay, trailer definition, RV, never mind. What is the city decision-making body on page 81? That, there was the decision, that was, instead of planning official,
On 81?
on page 81, 10.112.050. And this is approval criteria. An application for a type 1 or type 2 site development review shall be approved if the proposal meets all the following criteria. The city decision-making body may, in approving the application. What do you think that means, Walt? The city decision-making body?
I think that's old language that was just kept in there. Again, I think Doug pointed out that,
It's not old, it's got 2 lines under it, it's new.
They're adding it.
okay,
Yeah, they're adding that. Should we just say planning official?
It seems like it's a type 1 or 2. It seems like that would be.
okay, wait a minute. I got the wrong number. Could you repeat the number again?
10.112.050.
0.050, okay.
A,
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay,
right near the top there.
right, okay, so instead of appeals, approval of 1 or 2 shall be approved. Decision-making body. Again, I think that's just the recognizing that the decision-making body may be initially the planning official, but since type 2s may be appealed, the decision-making body may be the planning commission. That's just sort of a all-inclusive term.
It's a more generic term to cover whichever avenue it's going.
That makes
Exactly.
sense. Okay, I like that. Thank you. On page 103, there's all these new procedures for a type 3, not new. I don't know if they're new. I'll give you the number now. We're page 103, Rocky. And it's, oh boy, 10.128.030. And A is type 1, B is type 2, C is type 3. And so we're in type 3, C. And then it lists out everything that goes on in our meeting. My question for Doug was, this is all new. And a lot of this language looks familiar. Just kind of the process we did tonight. My question was, is any of this new, or is this just restated here? Because this is our whole procedure. This is what we do.
And it sounds exactly what we've already done.
Yes.
What we've always done.
I just wondered if there was a change or a subtle change that,
I think it's just reformatted, if you will.
okay. About deciding to continue the hearing, the record left open, it all looks very familiar, but I could read it all, but I wouldn't know if it had changed or not because I didn't have the originals not crossed out right next door.
Is this the one that did not include it previously and we wanted the definition or the hearing procedures listed?
Oh, was it not in the actual code before?
I believe there was one, I don't know
Oh,
which section of the
That
code,
might have
but there
been
were
it.
hearing
Okay.
procedures were not included in one portion and Walt had requested that it be put.
Okay, that may be the answer.
that makes sense.
It got included for the first time.
Right.
And that's why it's not, the old stuff isn't crossed out, it was never there. Okay, that's good to know, thank you. Type 1 appeal. Page 109. We're gonna do this. I'm on page 109, Rocky, 10.128.040, appeals. This seemed important to me. A1, decisions may only be appealed to the planning commission where specifically noted. And I couldn't find anywhere where an appeal is allowed, it was noted to be allowed.
Well, right below that.
Type 2.
Oh, for type 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't think appeals were allowed for type
for
1.
type 1.
So if they're specifically noted somewhere, I'd want to know about that. And Doug isn't here to answer that one. That's kind of a,
It's
So-
tough.
You know where we're at, Walt?
Yes, I do. And that was my understanding when this started off, that type 1 do not require exercise of discretion. Let me go through application form, building permission, okay. The officials reviews intended, okay. No, there is no provision at all above going to the 10.180.128.030. There's no provision for an appeal. So I think that is, I don't think there's any harm in keeping it in there.
no, I agree, in case it is
If we
noted
have,
somewhere.
or if we ever add a note somewhere for type 1.
Okay, if we feel like, hey, this should have been allowed to be appealed and we want to go back and change the
Yeah,
code.
then this part's already there.
Okay. All right, I'm done with exhibit A. Exhibit B, I can let these go. Exhibit C, general public facilities type 1 or 2. Okay, so again, my old complaint, public facilities are type 1 or 2, probably type 2. New construction downtown is not type 3. And light industrial new construction is not type 3, but at least there'll be signs. But just letting you know, we don't touch any of that anymore. New construction downtown, like that. Like the gas station.
But now they'll be required to have a sign, so we all know.
Yes, so I ain't happy. But the sign, okay,
Cause actually, there wasn't anything out posted on that lot at all.
no,
That would have been helpful for people probably.
all right. Still in,
There's exhibit C.
see, page 9. Oh, no, still,
A lot of C.
I'm on page,
My C, a lot of it hadn't changed all
that's
that.
gonna take me a minute. Oh, here's 11, so is 11?
11, there were some changes.
What is C?
C is the downtown code. Exhibit C.
Oh, B, so I was fine with B, and now I'm going to C.
You're fine with B, okay.
And a lot of C hasn't been changed. There's been
I-
things moved.
I agree, but I'm having trouble finding them. Street right away, where am I? I don't know what exhibit I'm in right now.
11, 2, 4, that's not the right one. You're,
Am I still, oh, there's C.
you're still in B.
Okay,
Yeah,
now I'm in C,
Okay.
now I can go to page 9.
Page 9.
Okay,
And I don't have any notes, public facilities and new construction. Oh, again,
Saying,
yeah, public facilities and new construction are type 2. Schools and parks and city hall is type 2. But there'll be a sign. Okay. Page 29, fire station sign. Okay, I just wanna,
what part?
yeah, page 29 in exhibit C. You don't even have to find it. It's 10.64.120. X, which is about near the bottom of the page, is cost out. Because this was the old code before we developed our electronic sign. Here's the old code. Reader board signs and computer electronically controlled signs, except for temperature, time, automobile service stations, are expressly provided. So we provided.
I think that's a typo.
Yeah, prohibited, is what it used to be. Never mind. It used to be, anyway, the point is, planning officials don't always do the right thing. Somehow, 2 officials signed that, even though it was against the code. It went to the county, we called we asked the county, hey, it's against our code. Tough. You guys signed it, it's in, it's done. So that's why we want signs. Type 2 fire station sign diagram ordinance. Oh, yeah, I think the sightline diagram is good. It's good enough. It's clear. It's awkward, but it's clear enough. Never mind. Exhibit D, nothing. Exhibit E. So, Walt, is your understanding that Exhibit E is our comprehensive plan review? There's strikeouts and there's additions. Is our comprehensive plan now fully updated or updated? It's now the plan of 2006?
you know, I read that, first of all, I'm extremely happy that the maps have been improved.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there, I'm going, this is fantastic. Everything that they were doing in housing and whatnot, I think the only other improvement or additions that might come down the road are anything from parks or a TSP. But I think you're pretty much up to date here. Maybe not perfectly, but I think this is great. I think they have covered the bases, definitely.
But if I recall, Shelley and I had a conversation. And I understood that this is one piece of that comprehensive plan, but that like the parks
It's
thing,
bigger.
the parks and the parks thing that we're talking about.
It was only this thick. The comprehensive plan must be this thick.
Right, so the parks is another piece of it that needs to be
Oh.
updated. There's all these little pieces of the comprehensive plan that need to be updated.
Thank you.
So that was, when she and I were talking about the parks, she was explaining to me what the parks thing was about, and that's my understanding.
Okay, so we're not all comfy that our comprehensive
100%
plan is
up
up to date. Okay, I won't be comfortable. All right,
parts of it are.
parts of it are. And, you know, to update what we've done cost how many thousands, tens of thousands of dollars? We got a grant.
75.
There,
Like you said.
So, you know, wanting things updated, you gotta get a grant for a bunch of money. It doesn't just like, well, we should be doing that, you know, the planning commission, it's huge. Okay. Building, exhibit F, building code. They listed future tasks and my comment there is just, wow. The future tasks are amazing. What's left undone is still big.
Exhibit F, you said?
Yeah, exhibit F, pages
Oh, there it
12,
is. Okay,
14,
Yeah.
15, 17. There's still a lot for building code. And one thing they said in exhibit G was we should do an economic opportunity assessment
Yep.
and then determine if we want to expand the the commercial business district overlay. So that's a future thing that, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna wake up one morning and go, I'm gonna work on getting us an EOA? Our new city administrator, maybe? If the city council asks them to, I guess.
What will likely occur is that there will be interest, discussion, and then the city would go for a grant on this one because it's going to take some legwork to take the buildable lands inventory and also through the economic opportunities analysis. You usually hire one city hired an economist to do the work. I mean, you're going to hire someone from the outside to go ahead and do that. I've done a couple in my day, and things have gotten a lot more sophisticated over time. And just like with this project, I think it's important for the city to step outside and get some outside review, fresh eyes, so to speak. But yeah, this is the beginning of a process for the parks, transportation, and also housing. You may be looking at expanding the UGB at some point in the future.
Did you get us the grant that did these, Walt?
Yes,
So it's gonna be someone like you that maybe gets a grant to do more. It'll be maybe a new city planner. If they're asked to by the city council, if the budget is there to
that is correct.
invest in that, okay.
Okay, I'm not too sure if you're missing something on this, but I am currently in a contract, working through a contract with the city to return as the planning official.
Oh, we weren't aware of that.
Oh, man, sorry.
What was that you said, Walt? We didn't hear a thing. Okay, moving right along.
I was beaten up enough the first time, so might as well come back for more, huh?
Yeah, even Angie didn't know that, so, okay.
Holy Jimmy's, okay.
Look at that, Walt.
She
I
was,
don't know. I don't know if it was a mistake on my part. I might have just read the email and thought he was temporarily filling in until we could find somebody.
okay, H, I didn't see exhibit H. It was between G and I, there was nothing. And maybe it's because it didn't change. And what was it? It was, oh, you're right. It was the CIC number 3 presentation with comprehensive plan audit results.
Oh, was that the presentation that he
Yeah,
gave at the work session?
yeah, let's call it that.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. And there was this attachment number 2 that had grid lines, had like 300 lines and grids, and it kept referring to this attachment number 2. There would seem to be a lot of information in that. I was just curious about what that was.
In the paper copy, there's like a PDF of just grid lines, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it was referred to, G, I'm pretty sure. The downtown code, never mind, it's not something we need to do to approve tonight. Pages 9, page 12, buildable access, not buildable acres. Don't agree. Oh, that's a small problem. Okay, I'm done.
But it would be a miracle.
Two things happen. Posting the signs. Yep. Figuring out the code was already there. And the other one was, there was another problem. We were gonna have to write stuff really quick and we figured it out. I forget what it was. I don't remember.
I can read them to you, but
Okay,
you're probably not gonna be able to read my handwriting.
Okay,
Lot definitions between street and occupied. I can't read my handwriting. Put a comma and is occupied.
yes,
That's on exhibit A, page 6.
yeah,
Okay. Page 7, exhibit A, define manufactured home at the end of the division, at the end of the definition, add constructed after June 15th, 1976.
yes,
In 10.46.070, item E, number 3, uncross out similar character and design.
that was it.
Yes.
That was the other big one.
10.20.010, multifamily density. This is the question.
He said the math was okay, but it just makes more sense the way we changed it.
Yeah.
To read
Okay.
5.4 to -20.
5.4 to 20 dwelling units per acre, period. and
Right.
then Multifamily. And then modify type 2 notifications to match type 3 applications.
Yes.
Those are all of them. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Changes.
5.
All right, so, and we all hear those changes, we're comfortable with what those are? All right, so the next, our deliberations are complete. So I would need someone to move either to adopt the findings as modified, I think is what we're heading towards. Or as is.
Why don't you do that?
I'm gonna say, it's been your wheelhouse and I want to do
There, read that.
Oh, okay. I move to adopt the findings in the staff report recommended and no, what? Oh, and city council, what?
Recommend that the city council adopt legislation amendment, and then
See,
number
it
2.
would have been easier for him to do it.
No, I'd have got it wrong too. That's why I wanted you to do it.
Okay, so I move to adopt the findings in the staff report, correct? And recommended that the city council adopt the legislative amendment 2025-01. And then just as amended by the planning commission. And didn't we?
Per the provisions that Angie read.
Yeah, per those revisions
All
that
right.
Angie has.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, shall we vote?
Aye.
Lynn?
Yeah.
Aye. Freilinger, aye.
More aye.
Okay. All right, so let's see. You got that, right?
All right, is that
That's
everything?
it. So I move that we adjourn. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for being very thorough.
And thank you for finding. a-
Seeing you, Walt.
Thank you, Walt. Looking forward to maybe working with you of something.